What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. It's our first training camp report live stream of the season. It is August 1st, so I'm probably going to try and do this at least once a week to stay on top of the news and things like that. If there's any crazy news, I will do, an impromptu kind of live stream. But we're just going to hang out for maybe the next 15 or 20 minutes at best, and we're going to just go over the training camp news, and I'll scroll back as far as I can during this time. If you guys are new with us, definitely subscribe, like the video, check all that stuff out. But thefantasyfellowship.com, today I updated everything. Projections, dynasty rankings, redraft rankings, rookie rankings. If you want to check out the members only content tab, that's where I have everything posted right now. And because I love you guys all so much, I'm running a little discount for the month of August. So if you sign up for August, you're going to get, basically, if you start August 2nd, your subscription will end September 2nd. You get in for $7. So if you want to check out all my projections, all my cheat sheets are updated here. Projections, redraft guide here, which I'm this close to releasing. I spent a lot of time. I have a really fun article here that we'll cover in a video, and then just tons of other data and information on here. So check out thefantasyfellowship.com. Shout out to Harris. Hope you're doing well, bud. But let's get into the meat of the show, man. Let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins. And when I made the video thumbnail, I put Justin Herbert on there, so we'll get to him in a second. But the DeAndre Hopkins knee injury. So it sounds like it's just a strain. I don't think there's anything to worry about long-term here. I'm hoping he can rest up. And, if you think about August, there's 4 weeks in a month. And, the end of that 5th week, he's going to be trying to suit up for the season opener against the Bears. So, 4 to 6 week timeline, it's not the end of the world. If anything, he misses probably 1 game against the Bears, and he could be back week 2. I probably think he's going to play week 1, so I'm not really, making too many crazy decisions here with the rankings. I did swap DeAndre Hopkins for Calvin Ridley, though, to lead the team in targets. I just moved 5 or 10 targets down from Hopkins, put him against some of the other players in the offense, because he's getting up there in age. So this is just a nice reminder that, once you get up in the age, the 30 age range for wide receivers, it gets a little murky. And everything that I'm seeing here, he was spotted with the knee wrap today at practice. He doesn't appear to be running at top speed. He did catch 75 for 1,057 yards and 7 TDs last year. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that with the added competition at receiver, whether it's Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, some of the running backs there. I think they're going to spread the ball out a little bit more in this Brian Callahan offense. So he profiles as a wide receiver, a high-end wide receiver too. I don't know if I see that. He's more of a high-end wide receiver 3. So if I just open up my my projections document, which you guys can get access to with that membership, we'll open it up here to see where I have Ridley coming out and Hopkins coming out in the rankings. And again, I just tweaked these a little bit ago. Hopkins is wide receiver 41 for me, so he's not quite a starting wide receiver 3, I believe. I think he's more of like a wide receiver 3 flex option for you. He could be really good, though, to start the year strong. Usually veteran players come out hot in September and October and tend to fizzle down the stretch. So if you want to draft Hopkins, I don't hate the idea of it, because he's going to be on a discount now, and hopefully you're not drafting your redraft leagues, until much later in August. But if you're drafting, say, this weekend, grab Hopkins on the fall here. And then, Calvin Ridley is only my wide receiver 39. So I think these guys are both kind of fringe wide receiver 3 flex plays. Nothing to really get too crazy about, I think, with this injury. So I'll probably start clicking on DeAndre Hopkins in best ball drafts. Actually, I want to pull up I'm going to just pull up my exposure real quick here and see. Let's see. I got DeAndre Hopkins. I only have 4% DeAndre Hopkins. So I'm not too bad there. I want to look at my Ridley exposure. I got 7% Ridley. So I'm underweight on both these guys. You want to be at about 8% even when you're doing best ball. So I'm not overweight on any of the Titans receivers here. But again, I think we'll want to buy the dip on Hopkins. You're going to probably see Ridley continue to rise up boards. This one's interesting. And so we'll move on to Andrei Iosivas here for Joe Burrow. Shout out to Tony. Hope you're doing well, man. We're just chilling, talking through some of these reports here. And I've kind of been drafting a good amount of Andrei Iosivas. I actually want to pull up my exposures there too. He's in competition for that number 3 spot with Jermaine Burton, You got Iosivas. You have Charlie Jones there. I think it's going to be Iosivas. He's been playing a lot of slot. Let's read the clip here. And this is Joe Burrow's quote. He's going to have a big year for the Bengals this season. While in some ways this is one teammate helping up another, this isn't the first time Iosivas has received off-season praise from the Bengals. Earlier this summer, Iosivas' personal receiver coach said the second-year receiver made the fastest improvement of any player he's ever had. On top of that, Iosivas has also expected to work as the third receiver in 11 personnel, possibly filling the void left by Tyler Boyd in the slot. The 6'3", 212-pound speedster could see significant work in an offense that's expected to feature plenty of three wide receiver sets. He could make for an interesting late-round dart throw in a PPR league. I just want to double-check real quick, because I think I have a decent amount of Iosivas in my best balls. Iosivas, I got 9%, so I'm happy with that. And I've noticed he's rising up draft boards. He's not a 20th round pick anymore. I don't know if he's in the redraft conversation yet. He's probably a guy that, week one, if he has a big game, we'll look at him on the waiver wire and talk about him then. For best ball only, but for dynasty leagues, if he's chilling on your waiver wire, you need to add him. It sounds like, again, I've pulled these numbers up. Last year, Tyler Boyd led the entire NFL in slot snaps, and he's completely gone. So you're looking at a lot of opportunity for whether it's Jamar Chase, Iosivas. They don't really put T. Higgins in the slot. You could see some Chase Brown. You could see some Mike Gesicki. We could see an interesting amount of slot reps for some guys here in Cincinnati. So not a redraft guy yet, but he's making waves here. And I think Iosivas is someone to put on your radar in dynasty and deeper best ball leagues. We'll keep it moving here. We'll get to the main meat of the show that I thought would be the biggest headline before DeAndre Hopkins injury. And maybe this is the biggest, headline here. It's Justin Herbert with a plantar fascia injury. The team announced in a statement that the injury to Herbert is to Herbert's right foot, and it's just the second lower body injury of his career. He's going to be in a boot for the next 2 weeks, and after those 2 weeks, he's going to get into a gradual return to camp ramp up. So this isn't as bad of an injury as it sounds. He's going to be sidelined, obviously, for the next couple of weeks. Maybe by week 3 or 4 of August, he'll be out there and kind of back in into the swing of things. He's on track to play week 1. And if you're drafting best ball leagues or redraft leagues or anything like that, you could probably get Justin Herbert for cheap. I don't expect Herbert to be a top 10, top 12 QB that we've seen in the past few years. Because of the lack of volume that the Chargers passing offense will have. But I expect him to be efficient, not quite as efficient as a Brock Purdy, but something in between Brock Purdy and probably like a Matthew Stafford is probably what you're looking at for Herbert. So to me, he's like QB 18 in my rankings right now. And I think I'll buy him in best ball leagues. You could probably go to your Justin Herbert owner in a dynasty league and just say, hey, what do you want for Herbert? Now's a good time to check underneath every rock and see what's going on here. So his ADP should drop, and I think it's worth buying because I'm not overly concerned about this. Now, he might run a little bit less, and that's the one stat that I adjusted. I fully expect him to play week 1, but I adjusted his running numbers down just a little bit. I docked him like 40, 50 yards. So maybe he's not running as much as we would have thought, which is one of his assets. But I still like Herbert. I like him as a QB2 in Superflex leagues. And we'll just open up the numbers real quick here. He fell, again, to my QB 18. He's still a good play, low volume, but I think he's going to be having some nice efficiency. So we'll move on and find the next guy here. This one was kind of serious. Foreman. He was carted off, not even carted off. He was strapped to a backboard and he was helicoptered to a hospital. Results were negative for a neck injury, which is good news. Not sure if we're going to see him anytime soon, so we'll be continuing to watch the updates on this. But this is very important because Nick Chubb's not yet practicing, although I do have a tweet to share about Nick Chubb. And I'm starting to kind of change my mind on Nick Chubb because he's kind of just like a freak athlete. And where's Mary Kay Kabat? This was the tweet from last week. She just watched Browns' Nick Chubb running back run full sprints after practicing cutting with tremendous agility. It was remarkable. We weren't allowed to film it. Jimmy Haslam watched the whole thing and looked very pleased. I think Nick Chubb might still be a candidate for PUP list, but when he comes back and they say it's week 5, like it might be Nick Chubb RB1 again. So I'm starting to turn my my radar, and just this injury to Deonta Foreman really forced me to update my projections for the Browns. I dropped Jerome Ford because as Nick Chubb excitement increases, you have to lower Jerome Ford a little bit from being a starting running back for 4 to 8 weeks to maybe 4 to 6 weeks. And then you also have to add Nick Chubb numbers. I have to decrease a little bit of Deonta Foreman numbers. So where it came out in my projections is Jerome Ford came down to RB35, Nick Chubb RB42. So he's rising up boards. I noticed in drafts today that he's moving up boards as well. So with this Deonta Foreman injury, you have Jerome Ford, you have maybe Deonta Foreman, you have Nick Chubb, who might not play week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and then you have a couple other guys there trying to make the team, Pierre Strong, and you also have Nyheim Hines. So we'll continue to monitor this Browns running back situation, but for now, it looks pretty optimistic for Nick Chubb. Again, I still think he's a PUP candidate to start the year, but I think, right now I'm trying to grab best ball shares. I'm trying to, send your dynasty manager, whoever's got Nick Chubb in dynasty, send him a low ball offer and see if he bites. This Foreman injury is going to open up RB2 duties in camp right now. So we'll see if Nyheim Hines or Strong can separate themselves to be the clear number 2 behind Ford. But for now, it does look like Nick Chubb might be a thing in 2024. Nothing to note here on Tyreek Hill. He's just talking about trying to he's ignoring his contract right now. He wants to stay a Dolphin. This one's a minor thing to note. Josh Jacobs' groin missed practice on Thursday. He attended practice but was unable to participate in team drills. This is Jacobs' second lower body soft tissue injury since the Packers signed him. He missed the first week of OTAs due to a hamstring strain, and now he's got the groin issue. So we'll continue to monitor this. I do want to note, I sent this tweet out. I believe I retweeted it and sent it to Harris because I know Harris likes his MarShawn Lloyd. But Ryan Wood's one of the main Packer guys that I follow here. And by rule, I don't evaluate running backs in camp. They aren't being tackled, kind of a big part of the job, breaking tackles. But MarShawn Lloyd just broke off a legitimate 50-yard run. Good burst to second level, and the rookie showed some home run speed. This was impressive. So not a lot of noise about MarShawn Lloyd returning to Packers camp, but he's in pads and he's getting runs and he's getting opportunities. And I still like Josh Jacobs as like an RB2 pick, but you have to keep monitoring MarShawn Lloyd because if he is the clear RB2 there, Matt LaFleur has always had about 400 carries for his running backs, and he's almost kind of split them down the middle, maybe 210 for RB1, 190 for RB2. That's been the split for Jones and Dillon the last handful of years. So keep an eye on MarShawn Lloyd here. That's the note I think I'm taking out of Josh Jacobs. Nothing really to note here on the Denver one, but Blake Watson was activated from the non-football injury list. He's kind of behind on the depth chart. I don't think he's going to make the team, but it certainly sounds like Javonte Williams is impressing at camp right now. Sean Payton asked him to lose some weight and get down to his playing weight at UNC, and he did that from OTAs and minicamp. Javonte Williams slimmed down, and now all the reports are that he looks good. He's got burst. A lot of positive Javonte Williams content out there on X right now. He's continued to stack good days at training camp, looking like his old self. Denver starters will play the preseason, according to Sean Payton, and we know he's a good pass catcher. We just need to see if he can, regain his form as a really good runner, because I think it was his second season before the injury. He was looking really, really good. So yes, I agree. Javonte Williams is a no-brainer pick right now if you're picking in best ball leagues or anything like that. So the pecking order, to me, I think it's Javonte Williams getting the bulk, like maybe 60% of the Broncos' backfield. You're going to see a little bit of Jaleel McLaughlin as a receiver. Samaje Perine still a really good pass blocker and receiver. And then I think Audric Estime has some opportunity to be like a banger, maybe the goal line short yardage back. So we'll continue to evaluate this Broncos backfield, but I think Javonte Williams right now is a pretty smash pick at ADP right now. And I have a good amount of Javonte on drafters here. I got 14% Javonte Williams, and he's going pick 112 in a full PPR league here. So 9th round, sign me up for Mr. Javonte Williams. That sounds pretty good. And yeah, Tony likes MarShawn Lloyd quite a bit too. I think Lloyd offers that little bit of electricity that Aaron Jones offers. I don't think Jacobs has that. If anything, Jacobs is just like a souped up version of AJ Dillon. Like Dillon can do everything okay. Like he can run the ball for like 3.5, 4 yards a carry. He can pass pro. He can catch the ball and make some guys miss. I think Jacobs elevates what A.J. Dillon offers, but MarShawn Lloyd's going to bring in that wiggle and those big play downfield abilities that Aaron Jones left behind. We'll keep moving around down here and see what we can find. Again, Foreman. More Foreman. Shout out Tariq Cohen. We'll pour one out for Tariq Cohen. He was one of my favorite players for the first couple years of his career. He was a great receiving back for the Bears, man. Him and David Montgomery had a really nice backfield for a couple seasons in Chicago. I liked Tariq Cohen a lot. Sad to see him hanging it up, but he's had some brutal injuries, and he was a fun player to watch. So shout out Tariq Cohen. All right. This one's interesting. The Athletics' James Boyd. And hey, if anyone needs an Athletic subscription, it's $2 a month. Like, you guys should totally get the Athletic. I do have a couple of free 1-month subscriptions. So if you guys are interested, just reach out and let me know. Harris adds that he's apparently the best player at Fortnite. I can see that, man. He's had a lot of injuries the last few years. He's had a lot of time to play some video games. But let's talk about Alec Pierce for a minute here. The Athletics' James Boyd is saying that Alec Pierce has looked like a key cog in the Colts passing offense during training camp. And, you know, they go out and draft Adonai Mitchell in the 2nd round. You got Michael Pittman. You got Josh Downs. It's a 4-man pecking order for receiver, and we don't know who the number 3 is going to be. I feel pretty good about Josh Downs being the slot receiver, the number 2 guy on this team in terms of targets and receptions. But Alec Pierce not going away quietly, even though they drafted Adonai Mitchell. If anything, this kind of added fuel to his fire. So take this with a grain of salt. Pierce has outperformed 2nd-round pick Adonai Mitchell early in training camp while making several big plays in practice. He also notes that Mitchell has not been the same playmaker he was during the spring when he repeatedly turned heads in camp. Pierce caught 32 passes for 514 yards and 2 TDs last year, and has a career receiving line of 73 catches. I think that's 1,100 yards and 4 TDs. Only targeted on 10% of his routes, and a pretty bad targets per route run. So it's a low ceiling for Alec Pierce, but I think in best ball leagues I'm interested. You can maybe add him in a deep dynasty league, but I think for best ball purposes only, he's like a round 20 pick. And I have 3 Alec Pierce shares at 1%. So maybe I need to tag on some more Alec Pierce shares, because you guys know me. I like Anthony Richardson. I like grabbing me some Josh Downs. And I had been grabbing some A.D. Mitchell, but maybe I need to throw in some Alec Pierce here. And yeah, I remember Tony took Javonte Williams last night in our mock draft. And I think, dude, when I did my projections, Javonte was like in the RB20s, but then once I heard, you know, he was looking good in camp and I updated some things, he comes out to RB16 for me. And for him to be going, and I talk a lot about best ball ADP, because that's what I draft best balls every day. But round 9, and I'm getting a potential top 16 running back, like, sign me the hell up. I think you got Javonte maybe round 7 last night, and that's a pretty good value for potentially a fringe RB1 type caliber of Javonte Williams. So we know they'll run the ball a lot there. They have a rookie QB, and we know that they're going to pass a ton to the running back. So Javonte Williams makes a lot of sense at his current ADP. We'll keep looking for a few more options here. The Dolphins signing Willie Snead, cool. There's the MarShawn. This is from yesterday. MarShawn Lloyd back to, you know, practicing in team drill. So you love to see this. I think MarShawn Lloyd's ADP is going to start to rise again. At one point, he was kind of peaking in like the 120s in best ball drafts, and now he's fallen back into the 130s. I think we're going to continue to see MarShawn Lloyd. And as long as Josh Jacobs remains out with his groin injury, you're going to continue to see MarShawn Lloyd go up boards. And Lloyd is probably one of my most drafted players in best ball formats. I got him at 17%. I got a lot of shares of Mr. Lloyd there. Here's your evergreen, you know, your annual Kadarius Toney sustains leg injury drink tweet. And here we go. This one we should talk and unpack a little bit. Gus Edwards and JK Dobbins split first-team reps on Tuesday at training camp. It was Edwards' first training camp action after undergoing an undisclosed offseason surgery and missing summer practices. Both Edwards and Dobbins saw 5 snaps with the Chargers' first-team offense on Tuesday, while Kamani Vidal and the other backs worked with the second- and third-team offenses. Though Dobbins has emerged as a potential lead back in Greg Roman's offense, Chargers GM Joe Ortiz described Edwards, who like Dobbins played for Roman in Baltimore, as a bell cow and finisher. So I think the money is on Gus Edwards to lead this team in carries and rushing yards this year. I don't know if he's a great receiving back, though. I think JK Dobbins could be the change of pace / receiving back in this offense. And we know Dobbins before his injuries, he was an up and coming, a top 5, top 10 dynasty back when he was drafted by Baltimore. But now coming off not only an Achilles injury, but the ACL tear the year before that, he's got a lot to overcome. That's typically not a profile I want to bet on. I have noticed though that his ADP has skyrocketed over these last few days. So people are buying the Dobbins hype comeback, but I will continue to bet on Gus Edwards being the back that interests me the most there. I have a modest projection on Gus. I have him at RB38. I don't think, in a full PPR league, he's not going to offer much, but he could be a touchdown guy. Half PPR in standard leagues, you can take darts on Gus Edwards and feel pretty good about what you got there. So we'll monitor that situation, and hopefully JK can stay healthy. So this one's kind of cool. The Athletics' Joe Biscaglia reports Khalil Shakir has been one of the most consistent, dependable players in Bills training camp. And I did see a tweet today on the Buffalo Bills camp notes that I liked. Let me see if I can find it for us here. It was like the top 7 or so inputs from today's practice. Let me add a word here, training camp. All right, this is what I was looking for. This is not what I was looking for. But anyways, Khalil Shakir kind of locked into that wide receiver 3 role in Buffalo. I think he's not really a redraft candidate for me. I still like him on, in my rosters on dynasty leagues. And I think for best ball right now, he's looking like a 9th round pick. I mean, in the 9th round, I'm taking Javonte Williams over a guy like Khalil Shakir. But there is a lot of room in this offense. They lost 261 targets, I believe, from Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. So there's a lot of room here. You only have Curtis Samuel and a rookie in Keon Coleman ahead of him on the depth chart. You also have Dalton Kincaid catching passes. There's an opportunity for Shakir to maybe, hit 80, 90 targets and kind of be like a Rashid Shaheed type player, a deep ball kind of threat for them. I think it's going to be a really spread out offense, though. Again, we mentioned all the names here for Buffalo. I don't know if he's going to be the most consistent, dependable player for fantasy, but it's good to see that he's having a good camp and he's a guy to keep a note on. And if anything happens to Curtis Samuel or Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid, we're going to move Shakir up. So I have a decent projection for Khalil Shakir right now. But I believe he's my wide receiver 66. So he's kind of just he's going to probably go undrafted in your redraft leagues. And he might be someone that we talk about on the waiver wire this year. It sounds like Buffalo Bills, Marquez Valdes-Scantling faded to the background. He's not really anything to note. Congrats again to DJ Moore on the big bag here. We did have a Roman Wilson ankle injury earlier in the week here. He was carted off. Doesn't sound serious. Maybe it's just they haven't classified if it's a high or low ankle sprain. But I did have a thought that Roman Wilson could be their number 2 receiver coming in the year, but I think he's fallen behind, Calvin Austin and Van Jefferson on the depth chart. So he's going to probably open the depth chart as wide receiver 4 on the season here, and he's got his work cut out from him to get up there into the playing time. So he's just a dynasty stash for now. And we're getting into Monday and Tuesday notes here, so we might be able to call it. I'm going to open up. Well, first, let's make this best ball pick here. I have a best ball pick here. I entered a lot of $2 drafts. Started my draft here with Jamar Chase at the 102 over CMC. Saquon Barkley, Cooper Kupp, Devon Achane, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith, top players on the board. If I go by ADP, I could take Saquon Barkley. I have not taken a lot of Saquon Barkley, and I know that this guy probably going to toss me one of these receivers here that I like. So I'm going to go ahead and just collect Saquon Barkley. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Saquon Barkley this year, but I do need to get some exposure. And then I have one more pick here. I started off with Garrett Wilson at the 110. I'm looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, I'm probably going to go with Gibbs here. I just think he's a smash. He's looking like a second-year breakout player, more opportunity for him, receiving volume. And he wasn't that great as a receiver last year in the advanced metrics. I'm hoping he can, improve a little bit in that department. So I'll go Gibbs Wilson to start there. But let me just kind of finish. We'll finish with some Twitter work here and see what we can find and give you guys a few more good notes. I just want to look through some of my things here. There's the D-Hop news. See what else we can find here from major news from today. Herbert, D-Hop. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think we covered most of it today. So I think we're pretty good to sign off. I'm going to be continuing to work on – I have 4 more videos to make in my projection series, but then I have more mock drafts and other things to be working on. And I want you guys to check out thefantasyfellowship.com. I put so much effort and time into that. If you guys want to check it out, I am running an August promo where it's just $7 for the next 30, 31 days. And you guys can get access to all my content, my rankings, my projections, articles, data, and more. We're going to sign off here for the night. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening. Enjoy the football. Holy crap. We didn't even mention there's a football game on tonight. So I'll probably box score watch. I don't know if I'm going to actually watch the game, but I'll be curious to see who's out there getting plays and doing some things. But again, thank you guys so much for your time. Enjoy the evening. We'll see you next time. Peace. Thank you.